Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation, across the fruited plain, and I am delighted to have you with me. It is a Friday. It's Open Line Friday. It might be an Open Container Friday after this week. This is maybe it's because we were on Thanksgiving break last week. This week just seems like it has taken forever to get to Friday. By the way, I want to say how very grateful I am to Andrew and Ann, my board op, Jim. Y'all, okay. I first of all, my board op, Jim, who y'all never hear his voice. Jim will work. He has worked every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every New Year's Day if it falls off the weekend. And for a very long time, he also did my buddy Clark Howard's show, and he would work every Saturday. He just, an amazing work ethic. He would take off 5 days a year. That's it. 5 days a year he would take off. He'd take 1 week and go, and he never took off a holiday. So he was always working Thanksgiving, Good Friday, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, you name it. He'd always work. And now he works for me exclusively, and I'm like, Jim, you've earned it. You're at that age. You and your wife spend some time together. Go take. Well, Jim has decided he's taking off. They've gone to Aruba. They're taking a cruise. I'm like, I've created a monster. He takes vacation days now, but he'll be working Christmas. It's remarkable. He works Christmas, and so while he's out, I got Andrew in here today running the board, who had to jump in spur of the moment yesterday to answer phones because Charlie has the flu. And then Ann is here because Charlie was supposed to take off today to go kill animals, and now he can't because he's bedridden. And I got Ann answering phones and Andrew on the board, and I appreciate him so much for being able to step up and do that for me. Now, wild card here, because it is an Open Line Friday. I'm going to go to a call first, and my gosh, this is the sort of call that were Charlie around. He might allow me to take it because this is so in my wheelhouse. Pedro, I got to go to you. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing real well. I have a good question for you. What type of grilling or grill, rather, would you recommend for somebody like myself that's getting into it now? I know you are a big timer with food and everything else, and I appreciate it.
Are you calling me fat?
No, I didn't say that. I say you are a guru. You are a knowledgeable person. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay,
and
so let me ask you. So you're into grill. So what exactly do you want to use it for? Smoking meats or just grilling steaks, things like that?
I would say both as far as smoking and grilling. So I want maybe one type of grill fix all, or if there is such a thing, or should it be like one specifically per meat?
All right. So now, how much into convenience are you? Do you just want to flip it on and get going, or are you willing to wait for charcoal to get to where it needs to be? What's your patience level?
Okay, at this point, it'll be pretty good. I would have the patience for that. Okay. Based on by listening to you throughout this years, how you talk about how you smoke meats and stuff like that, which by listening kind of entices me to do that.
All right, so you got a couple of options here then. If you wanted a basic grill, if anybody wants a basic grill, I say go with a Weber grill. I know Home Depot sells them, but you want something for smoking too. I wouldn't go with a Weber for smoking meats, just for grilling, like high temperature grilling. You got a couple of options. You can go the pellet grill option. I've got a Rectech. If you're going with a pellet grill, that's kind of I can turn my grill on with my phone. It gets up to temperature. A Rectech gets hotter than a Traeger. I don't recommend Traegers. I know they're the biggest in the business, but I don't recommend them. Now, look, this is not an ad. I don't endorse pellet grills. I wish I did an ad with Rectech, but I don't. But between a Rectech and a Traeger, a Rectech gets higher temperature and it's a better build quality, and it's not going to fall apart. And I believe they've just done a deal with Ace Hardware, I read. You'll be able to get them there. I don't like Traegers. Everybody has them, but the build quality isn't as good. I don't think the computer lasts as long, and it doesn't get as hot. That being said,
Gotcha.
you can also get them at a reasonable price, a pellet grill. Now, there's a downside. Even the Rectech does not get as hot as something like a Big Green Egg or a Kamado Joe. The pellet grills, like a Rectech, can get up to 500 some odd degrees. They've got one called, I think it's the Bullseye, that gets pretty hot. It's like a Weber kettle, and it can get really hot. But if you want something that gets really hot so you can really sear a steak or make a pizza or something like that, I think you got to go with the ceramic grills. And I love the Big Green Egg. I know Kamado Joe and Big Green Egg, they're both made in the Atlanta area. And they both got a cult following. I was a Big Green Egg guy, and honestly, I had a Big Green Egg for a decade, and I loved it. But once I got proficient at it, I decided that I just wanted something I could turn on with my phone and get it up to speed, and so I moved to the Rectech pellet grill. They will last you. A ceramic grill, by the way, like a Kamado Joe or a Big Green Egg, it's going to last you forever. Now, I will tell you, I have a standalone grill. It's called a DCS. It's really expensive. Don't recommend it for most people. And then I have my Big Green Egg or Rectech for smoking. And the reason I do is because I bought the Big Green Egg thinking I would do everything on it. You can grill, you can smoke, you can bake pizzas. And I made burgers for my wife, and she had grown up with a gas grill. And she's like, I don't think I like the charcoal flavor. It's like, oh. So got the gas grill. So I do the steaks and the burgers and the chicken on the gas grill, and then I do all the smoking on the Rectech pellet grill. But
Awesome.
I would say either it depends on your price point, the Rectech or the Big Green Egg. Either one. I love them both. I will tell you, I moved from the Big Green Egg to the Rectech because one, it's bigger, it's rectangle, and has more square inches. But two, I just love the convenience of turning it on with my phone, telling it the temperature I want, and it gets there. I will, in all honesty, tell you, and they probably wouldn't like me to say this, but I do think if you do more grilling than smoking, I would go with the Big Green Egg because it gets so hot. And I love the Big Green Egg. I don't have mine anymore. I gave it to a friend since I have a grill to grill and a pellet grill to smoke. But I think a Big Green Egg is ultimately a really versatile instrument. But your last note on this is, depending on how much you want to spend, you can probably get a pellet grill cheaper than the egg. I do not recommend anything smaller than the large egg. They have a medium and they have a small. And like I was on my large Big Green Egg having to fold the brisket over to fit it on the Big Green Egg, which is another reason I wanted the pellet grill that had more expansive space. So either way, it depends on your price point. It depends on how much you want to fiddle with it. You got to fiddle with the Big Green Egg a little more to get it up to temperature, but it has like a little fan you can put in it and a temperature probe, so you don't have to like check it every 2 hours in the middle of the night. I love them. I love them all. It really depends on your convenience, ease of use, and space, and then, of course, price point. So I hope that helps you.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Eric. Definitely, you put me in the right direction. And
Thank you so much.
This weekend. Thank you so much. Eric.
Great. Pedro, have a great day. Y'all, again, I'm not an endorser of pellet grills. I would love to do an ad. I know Glenn Beck does an ad campaign with Rectech, or he did. I genuinely, though, if you're looking at a pellet grill, you can get them at a cheaper price point than a good sized egg. They're not going to last you the lifetime that a ceramic grill will. They are way more convenient. I think the flavor is fine. I smoke briskets in my Big Green Egg. I smoke briskets in my Rectech. They come out just as good. I know you can buy grill grates and things for the pellet grills to really get a good sear on steaks and stuff. I think grill grates are made in Atlanta. In fact, I believe somebody told me. So I had people check and email me for me while I wasn't doing it myself, and I think the grill grates guy emailed me, and then nobody ever responded to him. That's been a long time ago. I need to follow up because I think they're made in Georgia. But nonetheless, you can get grill grates in your RecTech to do sear marks easily. But I'm torn between the two. I really am. The one thing I do want to recommend to you, though, if you decide you want a pellet grill because it's more convenient, it has more space, things like that, buy a RecTech. I know there are multiple pellet grill options out there. I am in the cult of RecTech for this reason. The customer service there is the greatest customer service of any company I have ever encountered in my life. It is not because I am a radio guy. It is because I bought a RecTech. Their customer service, like literally, if I have a problem, and I rarely do, but if I have a problem and I call RecTech, when the phone answers, they know it's me by my phone number, and I am assigned to the same person every time, and that guy knows me, and it is phenomenal. And it's just they are such. I am spending way too long on this, but let me just tell you, if you're buying a pellet grill, get a RecTech. Don't get a Traeger. I realize you can get a Traeger anywhere, and I realize most of my friends have Traegers. But I'm just telling you, the build quality, the computer quality, the customer service, everything you get from a RecTech is going to be so much better. You will be so much happier if you get one. It is going to last you a very long time, and they are just the nicest people. My gosh, they are the nicest people. I don't know anybody at Big Green Egg. I don't know anybody at Kamado Joe. I don't really even know anybody at RecTech. But every time I deal with them, they are the nicest people. Best customer service experience I have ever had with any company, hands down, is with them. I love them. I miss my Big Green Egg on occasion because sometimes I feel like I'm cheating with the pellet grill. And I loved my Big Green Egg. The very first time I used my Big Green Egg, I burned off my eyebrows and the hair on my hands. And I had to do TV the next day. The woman at CNN told me it was the first time she had ever painted eyebrows on a man. It was for the State of the Union coverage. Well, so when they get really, really hot, and I was grilling, not smoking, and they tell you got to lift the lid. You call it burp it because you let a little oxygen in and it flames up. So you lift it up a little bit, lower it, and then you raise it up again. And I promise you I did that. The fireball that came out of that sucker literally took off, the hair on my eyebrows, the front of my hair. It was incredible. I walked in the house and I could smell like burning hair. I was like, I don't know what this is. And I walked in the kitchen. My wife looked at me. She says, "What have you done?" Literally had no eyebrows. It was actually really funny in hindsight. But nonetheless, I will stop there. We can go to commercial break. Pedro, thank you for the question. It got me out of talking about politics. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. I love RecTech. I love my Big Green Egg. I miss my Big Green Egg, but I gave it to a good home with my trainer at my CrossFit gym. He needed one. It's like, you can have mine. I've got my RecTech now, and he loves it, and I miss it. Guys, if you're a small, mid-sized business, you're struggling with HR issues, you have employees not showing up, or you got to do a termination, you need onboarding of employees, maybe there's a sexual harassment complaint. You want an HR manager. You don't want to be the bad guy with your employees. Bambi can play the role of HR for you. $99 a month, available by phone, email, real-time chat. They do onboardings, terminations. They help your team members get to peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations, regardless of which state. They're great. Now, they're U.S.-based. You got somebody to talk to who's dedicated to your team. They give you access to HR expertise, and they add personal touches. So even though they're outsourced by your company, they really feel like they're a part of your team. That matters. Go to Bambi.com right now. Type in Eric Erickson under podcast. When you sign up, it'll help my show. Bambi.com, Bambee.com, Bambi.com, Eric Erickson in the podcast tab. Howdy. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. Some of you have very strong opinions on grilling and smoking meat. I appreciate you emailing me. We really don't have time. This is not a cooking show, although I would turn it into one in a heartbeat and then lose all of the audience except for the hardcore committed people. But yes, I concede a steak in a cast iron skillet is probably superior to everything else given the sear. It really, it's phenomenal. You take a cast iron skillet, you heat that sucker till it's smoking, you throw the steak in. Oh, you throw in some garlic and rosemary and butter, and it's just incredible. It is. But nonetheless, I digress. I move on. I'm going to go to Jim. Welcome to the show, Jim. How are you?
Fine. Can I go back to the oil question?
Absolutely, Jim.
Number one, we can't refine our fracked oil. We have to export most of that oil. And also, balance of payments is very important. In other words, export more than you import. And that creates a positive balance of payments and a positive boost to the economy. And also, I would point out who and how do we refill our reserves that Biden and the Democrats used to push their policies of minimal drilling. We actually drill. We're actually getting more oil, fracked oil, out of the ground because of efficiencies. But we really need to get, probably another 1 million or 2 million barrels a day, which we could very easily do.
Right.
And so I just wanted to point out the importance of a balance of payments. And, of course, Biden used our reserves. They've got to be replaced at some point in time.
Yeah,
the price of oil.
So, Jim, I'm glad you say that. Let me speak to that part of it for just a moment here. So what people may not understand is oil is you've got heavy crude and light crude. Heavy crude is used for a lot more niche products. Light crude is what is refined into gasoline. And then you have sweet crude and you have sour crude. Sweet crude has less of a sulfur content. It's easier to refine. Sour crude has more sulfur. It's more difficult to refine. Sour crude is what we use to fill the oil reserves. Sour crude tends to be treated differently. The two cannot be refined together. One of the issues that people forgot when Biden was releasing oil from the oil reserves is that he was releasing sour crude into the market, and sour crude and sweet crude can't be refined at the same time. You can take sweet crude from different outlets and blend them together, but you can't run them with sour crude in the refinery. And so he was slowing down refinery capacity with the sour crude released from the petroleum reserve. Now we got to refill it. But oil prices are so high, they haven't wanted to refill it. It made no – you could tell that it was a bunch of academics who've never lived in the real world making these decisions when the Biden administration did it. And you will recall Trump tried to refill the oil reserves, and the Senate Democrats blocked him from doing so when oil was a whole lot cheaper than it is now. Just playing politics with it. Who cares about national security? The Senate Democrats wanted to play politics with Trump and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and now it's pretty much empty thanks to Joe Biden. He had no vision for what to do with it. Speaking of vision, Vision Computer wants to have a vision for your home and office where they help you, they give you a great deal, and then they become your tech support. And I highly encourage you to do this. You can get Vision to build you a computer that is designed according to what you want to need. They'll spend time with you, ask you what you're doing, what you think you're going to do in the future, where you going with life when it comes to your computing power. They will build you a computer. It's upgradable. You can keep it. It works. We've done this with our kid. And then they will service it for you. They give you a phone number you call, and you can call them day or night. They answer the phone 15 seconds or less, faster than a Google search. They give you the answer you need. How do I do something on my computer? I think there's something wrong. Can you check it? They'll remote in. They service it. They do this for your business as well. So if you're a small business owner, you're an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, a mechanic shop, you name it, you need multiple computers, Vision can build them for you, get you set up with the software, the printer support, everything, email. And then whenever any of your employees has a problem, they call Vision. Vision tells them what to do. Saves you money, saves you time, keeps you online. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Call them at 404-COMPUTE anywhere nationwide. Tell them I'm sending you, and you'll get an even better deal. 404-COMPUTE nationwide. Call Vision Computer. My goodness, George Santos, his website is already gone, and the phones rolled a generic voicemail for his congressional district. He is officially out of Congress, and boy, did they move quick on him. Meanwhile, the Democrats, and yes, the rules are different in the Senate and the House when it comes to ethics. However, they can still do something. It is remarkable that John Fetterman, what is this? He's like a Manchurian hit. You know, progressives are furious with him because he's come out so staunchly in favor of Israel. and he went on The View. Listen to this. This is Fetterman on The View.
And you've also been calling to get rid of Menendez, I know. But first, before we talk about that, what's your reaction to the expulsion?
Well, it's like I'm not surprised, but to me, I think the more important picture is that we have a colleague in the Senate that actually did much more sinister and serious kinds of things. Senator Menendez, he needs to go. And if you are going to expel Santos, how can you allow to somebody like Menendez to remain in the Senate? And Santos's kind of lies were almost funny, and he landed on the moon and that kind of stuff. Whereas I think Menendez, I think, is really a senator for Egypt, not New Jersey. So I really think he needs to go, and especially it's kind of strange that if Santos is not allowed to remain in the House, someone like that. Yeah.
Are you though uncomfortable with the fact that there hasn't been an adjudication, that while he's been charged, there hasn't been a conviction? With Menendez.
I am. And it's like he has the right for his day in court and all that, but he doesn't have the right to have those kind of votes and things that's not a right.
Santos himself has not been convicted either. Now, notice that Sonny, what's her name, the racist one, she went there too, but he hasn't been convicted. Neither had George Santos been convicted. Yeah, it's amazing that Fetterman has been so clear on these sorts of things. I'm impressed. All right, 877-973-7425. Danny, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Great.
I just have a question. We're already almost at war. What would happen if we did have to go to war and we have depleted our oil strategic reserves down to, I think, 80%? What would happen? What would we do?
Okay, so it wouldn't matter. In all honesty, if we went to war, it wouldn't matter. We talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as, if we're in a time of war, we need this. No, it's actually if people stop selling us oil, that's what the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is. What happens if we go to war? You know, one of the first things China bombs? The oil refineries. It's not going to matter whether we have a Strategic Petroleum Reserve or not. Hell, they'll bomb the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's underground, but they got bunker busters. So the Strategic Petroleum Reserve it's not actually there for war. I know it's how politicians talk about it. It's how the media talks about it. But when you think about it logically, they're going to bomb the oil refineries. If we go to war, that's going to be one of the strategic targets of the enemy, is to take out the oil refineries. So it doesn't matter. It's the oil reserves exist for if there are economic boycotts against us, if there are boycotts to sell us oil, things like that. That's why we have the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And honestly, given our production, if we would just drill more oil in this country, we would take care of the issue. By the way, it was grill grates is what talking about earlier, and yes, it is in Georgia. Amy called in and said grill grates, yes, and apparently somebody told me, the CEO reached out to me, and nobody told me at the time, and it was past time, and I should follow up with that guy and apologize. But it's been a while. I always hate that. I find out something, I'm like, will he be mad that I ignored? I didn't even know, and I do that with people. Do you all do that sometimes? You're like, it's been so long. Should I reach out and apologize? And I probably should. But yeah, that when somebody dropped the ball. In any event, I got to move on. I want to answer a question. I want to answer a question from listener Neil. Let me read you his email. I've heard your story many times about when you found out your wife got cancer. What I've not heard is how you handled that news over the following months or years. How did you handle fear and anxiety? I know the Bible tells us not to fear, but it's really hard to overcome in my mind. I deal with a lot of anxiety from time to time, and the only thing that's helped me is by staying up all night praying constantly. Thanks, Neil. Oh, anxiety. So, I try to be an open book with you guys and tell you everything that's going on. And there are some things that sometimes I struggle to share with you. Not because I shouldn't, not because there are things like somebody said don't share it or I feel like I shouldn't share it, but because I feel like I'm a hypocrite. I struggle sometimes with anxiety, particularly over my wife. So she's been very sick this week. She's actually better now, but one of the side effects of the chemo medicine she's on. Now, for those of you new listeners, Lafayette and elsewhere, my wife has stage 4 lung cancer, and there is no cure for her type of lung cancer. She takes a chemo pill every day, and it keeps the tumors from growing, but they can't ever get rid of the tumors. That pill was supposed to work for 2 years, and thank God, 7 years on, it is still working. My wife was very convinced that, like her mother, when she was little, died of breast cancer. My wife was in, I think, first grade, her mom died of breast cancer. When we got married, my wife had a prophylactic double mastectomy. The history of breast cancer was so bad in the family. And now through modern genetic testing, we know she didn't actually have the breast cancer gene. She had the lung cancer gene. But she was very convinced that she would not see my daughter graduate from high school, who is now a senior this year. And my wife is very active in her being a senior in high school. She didn't think she'd be around, and here she is. And it's been wonderful. But when my wife gets sick, I get a little anxiety. Our family lives with the sword of Damocles. Have you heard the story of the sword of Damocles? It was the Greek ruler who had the man come to him and say, being king is so easy. Being king is you have this world of privilege. You can't understand what it's like for the rest of us. Damocles was the man. He was a courtier in the court of King Dionysius I of Syracuse. And he showed up, boastful to Dionysius. You got it easy, man. You don't know what the rest of us are going through. You sit on this throne all day. You give orders. You got no idea. Just how wonderful it was. He was full of power, full of vigor. Just everyone bowed to Dionysius. Dionysius was having enough of it. So he told Damocles, tomorrow, for one day only, tomorrow, I'm going to let you be the king so that you know what it's like. Damocles, the next day, went to the throne room all big and bad and puffed up and thought this is going to be awesome. And above the throne, Dionysius I had hung a sword by a single horsehair. The hair of the tail of the horse, a single hair. And that sword hung over Damocles. Damocles was so scared to death that that horsehair would snap. He could not function. In anxiety and panic and terror, he sat on that throne, waiting to see if the horsehair would snap and the sword would fall and kill him. That's the story of the sword of Damocles. And that sword hangs over my family. Every 3 months, with metronomic regularity, my wife goes to Emory University and has scans and blood work and sees her doctor. And every 3 months for 7 years, the report has been no new spots, no new growth. All is well. And for 2 years, we had great peace of mind because that medicine we knew worked for 2 years. But the medicine's still working. If I understand it right, and don't hold me to this, but I do believe I understood my wife's doctor saying that she is now like the longest on the medicine. That there were a number of people, she has a very specific mutation, and for all of those people, the mutation has continued to allow the medicine to work, and they don't quite understand it, but the medicine worked for all of them, and the rest of them all got COVID or other illnesses and died. So she's it. We don't know how much further it goes. We have no idea. She's kind of the case study at this point. And we hope for a while. Every time she gets sick, I get a little anxious. And, I will tell you, there are easy vices to get out of your anxiety, and they don't make it better. Drugs, alcohol, things like that. It's amazing the things people will suggest to you, particularly in this day and age. The only thing that I have found that works for me is faith. That's it. That's the only advice I have for people. I wish I had something better for those of you who are not believers. I really do. Get a good therapist. But knowing that the God of the universe hears my prayers is the only thing that oftentimes keeps me sane when dealing with these issues. Knowing that I can wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, get on my knees and pray. Blessed are you, O Lord, the King of all creation, who holds the universe in the palm of your hands. You bring bread from heaven and water from rocks. You raised me from the dust of the earth. You stitched me together in my mother's womb. And you prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and my cup overflows. I start every prayer with that. Not for him to hear, but for me to remind myself what all he's done for me already. I don't have any other solution to deal with anxiety, to deal with this issue, to deal with the sword of Damocles that hangs over my family. The only thing I can pray is, please, Lord, not today. Don't let that horsehair snap. When it comes to my business, when it comes to the stress of my conference every year and bringing in the sponsor dollars and making sure everything turns out right, and dealing with the growth of the show and the competitive nature of radio and trying to expand markets and trying to make sure the advertisers pay their bills and grow the advertisers and grow the revenue and grow the press. All I got is prayer. That's it. That's absolutely it. I don't know how else to deal with it. You can try therapy, I guess. At one time, I had a friend of mine force me to go to a therapist, and it helped for a while to deal with some issues I was dealing with. But prayer, getting on the floor, on my knees, in the middle of the night, in a dark room where no one else is, and praying, not in my head, but spoken out loud, knowing there's somebody out there in the universe who will hear. And his will is greater than mine, and his knowledge is greater than mine, and his will be done, not my own, and that he is good, even in the dark and the bad times, knowing he's good. It is all by faith. Everyone puts their faith in something, and thank God Almighty himself, I'm not putting my faith in myself or something abstract but him, because I tell you what, I don't think I could keep it together otherwise. That's how I deal with anxiety. I don't have a better answer for you. Now, let me talk to you about Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is a cell phone provider. If you go to patriotmobile.com/Eric, you can move your cell phone business to them. Now, why should you? Because you're going to get guaranteed great service using the same cell towers you are already using. And then with Patriot Mobile, as their profits grow, they're giving to the conservative causes you care about is going to grow as well. So you get guaranteed great service using the same cell towers you're already using, and Patriot Mobile will grow your business. Grow it. Yes, it will. Patriot Mobile works. They are phenomenal people. They share your values. They fund the causes you care about as a conservative. They fund conservative parents battling wokes on school boards. It's phenomenal. PatriotMobile.com/Eric. That's where you want to go, ERICK. You can also call them 972-PATRIOT. You tell them I sent you. You get free activation with my name. You get great discounts. You're a veteran, a first responder, an NRA member, a teacher, so many more. Got a large family and you need multiple lines. They can help you, give you great discounts. As their profits grow, they're giving to the conservative causes you care about grow. So patriotmobile.com/Eric. You can go there and put in your address, see how good the 5G, the data, the voice is. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Eric or give them a call, 972-PATRIOT. Tell them I sent you. You know, it's funny. I was sitting here during commercial break earlier thinking, man, I got a guy I need to text that we need to get together for a cigar. It's been a while. And then suddenly I get a text from him about fly fishing I gotta figure out a time to go fly fishing with my buddy Casey. Literally, I was sitting here thinking I've got to email Casey, and he'll appreciate the moment that I remembered that I needed to email him, which I will not say on air. But okay, last caller of the day, calling from WDBO down in Orlando. Steve, welcome. How are you?
Hello, Eric.
Hi there,
Eric. Hey, well, last call of the day. I'm so lucky. U.S. Navy veteran. And now school crossing guard, the kids are getting ready to come out any minute. But
well,
I
God bless
just
you
had
for
one
your
simple
service.
question.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Well, George Santos kind of fought pretty hard to try to stay there. Was it because of his pension? Does he lose that pension now or what?
No, so he doesn't even get one. I actually did not even need to look this up. I knew the answer to this. Back in 94, during the Republican Revolution when Gingrich and them took over, one of the things they campaigned against was the Congressional Pension Plan, which paid lavish pensions to anyone who served just a single term in Congress. And so they changed it. So to get a pension as a member of Congress now, you must serve at least 5 years. So no one-term member of Congress ever gets a pension.
Oh, how about Menendez? If he gets thrown out, he'll lose his, won't he?
No, you do not revoke the pensions. If he gets thrown out of the Senate, he will not revoke. It won't cost him his pension.
Any idea what he will make a year?
It depends. It's a math formula. It depends on how long he's been in Congress. If you've been there
forever.
Yeah, so basically you can get up to 80% of your salary, but you've got to have served for something like 40 years to do it. So Joe Biden gets his congressional salary up to 80% of it because he was there for 50 years. But it's a wild formula. Like if you're there for 6 years, you get something like $18,000 a year. That's as a percentage of your salary. So but Santos won't get it. Menendez will.
No one's been mentioning that.
Yeah. Look,
right,
I listen, Steve. Look, I appreciate the phone call, and I suspect Menendez is trying to drag it out so he can get right to that next level of vesting. But that guy is just adamantly convinced he's going nowhere. And he's got a lot of friends, and they're all defending him, saying he did nothing wrong. Listen, innocent until proven guilty. I get that, but same thing as Santos. Santos has not been found guilty. He has not been found guilty. And yet they expelled him. The Senate should do it. John Fetterman, oh my Lord have mercy, I'm saying this. John Fetterman's right. He is. What has the world come to that John Fetterman speaks with more moral clarity on this and Israel than most of the Democratic Party, and frankly, a lot of Republicans as well? My goodness gracious, the world that we live in these days. All right, my friends, I'm going to step away. It's not rainy. Well, what is the radar? Because I might want to go hit golf balls unless I got to take my kid. My kid has another sinus infection, I think. I got to take him to the doctor. But I could go play golf if my wife will humor me. Oh, we'll see. I will bring you an update on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.